The year is 1994. Sega and Nintendo are dominating the console market, having their own private battle when Sony steps onto the scene ready to shake things up forever. The origin of PlayStation's now iconic name might seem elusive to many fans, but Shuhei Yoshida says its conception came down to just one other device, the PC. To tell you the truth, as time goes on and we continue to get stories about Sony pushing this online requirement for their future games, I genuinely feel like the older titles are only going to become more relevant. Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to the Hard Light Network. Alrighty guys, so this week we are continuing our trend of talking about Sony by covering their original console, the progenitor of their current line of consoles, the original PlayStation. The year is 1994. Sega and Nintendo are dominating the console market, having their own private battle when Sony steps onto the scene ready to shake things up forever. In December of that year, Sony came onto the scene, staking its own claim to the console market by releasing its original PlayStation. And I don't know about you guys, but much like their competitor Nintendo, the PlayStation has been ubiquitous with gaming consoles for my entire life. Games like Blasto, Gex, and Resident Evil were landmark titles for my early gaming experience, but rather than covering its history, today we're going to be talking about how the console got its name. But before we get into it, guys, I need you to do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the content I've got coming up for you guys in the future, and also take to the comment section down below with your first experiences with Sony's PlayStation. And of course, if you want to support this channel, there are super thanks and memberships options down below. Join today for exclusive content and perks that you can't get anywhere else. Thank you so much for watching, and without any further ado, let's get into this article. And today's reading comes to us from Games Radar and is entitled, "The PlayStation Got Its Iconic Name After Legendary Lead Ken Kutaragi Saw How PCs Were Called Workstations," reveals Sony veteran Shuhei Yoshida. The origin of PlayStation's now iconic name might seem elusive to many fans, but Shuhei Yoshida says its conception came down to just one other device, the PC. Speaking in a recent interview after leaving PlayStation last year, the former president of SIE Worldwide Studios for Sony tells MinMax how the original console got its name. And no, it wasn't because of Nintendo. Despite Sony's platform initially coming to fruition thanks to a failed partnership with Nintendo, it was actually PlayStation's own so-called father, Ken Kutaragi, who came up with the idea for the console's name. Quote, "I remember the PlayStation idea came from Ken Kutaragi himself," explains Yoshida. Quote, "He named it because people use a computer and call it a workstation." In contrast to the PC, the workstation, Yoshida stresses that the PlayStation was just that, a device meant for play and not work. And even though the console went on to be successful, with Sony's own data showing over 102.4 million sales for the PS1, not everyone approved of the name at first. Quote, "The US people didn't like it," Yoshida admits, laughing. "I remember the US said, well, PlayStation sounds very kiddie, childish." Judging by the PlayStation console's legacy and ongoing success, however, I'd argue it's safe to say that Kutaragi probably made the right choice with its name. Regardless of opposing opinions at the time, more than 3 decades have passed since then, and PlayStation is going strong as ever. So there you have it, guys. Short, sweet, and to the point. Today's article describes how the PlayStation's name came about from one simple decision that led to such an iconic brand. This article reminds me of a story about how the pipes in Super Mario Bros. Were inspired by the developer seeing pipes laying in the street when he was out walking around town one day. It just goes to show that inspiration can come from the strangest places, and you never know what small decisions can lead to large successes. For as many problems as we've been having with Sony recently, I still have a great deal of appreciation for their original systems. I still go back and play titles like Resident Evil 3, Final Fantasy 2, 3, and 4, and Twisted Metal on the original PlayStation. Just recently, I bought more titles for the PlayStation 2, and I'm looking forward to enjoying those and collecting some video footage to share with you guys in future times. To tell you the truth, as time goes on and we continue to get stories about Sony pushing this online requirement for their future games, I genuinely feel like the older titles are only going to become more relevant. Emulators are becoming more and more sophisticated, easier to obtain, and easier to use by the average person, and physical copies of these older games are only increasing in their value. We've also seen an increase in third-party developers creating new hardware to run these old programs. And as gamers and participants in this particular medium, that's only a good thing for us. Eventually, these companies are going to have to face the reality that these practices are increasingly antagonistic to their consumer base, and they're going to have to make some sort of change. However, the form that these changes takes, I will leave up to you guys' interpretation, whether that means more legal battles in the future as these companies try to increase the stranglehold that they have on these IPs, or if they finally begin to serve their customer base and expand access to these older titles, or remove these limitations that they've artificially imposed in the name of harvesting your data. Some of these outcomes definitely seem more likely than others, but as customers and as enjoyers of these games, we can definitely hold out hope that at some point in time, our voices will be heard and gaming will receive another renaissance at some time in the near future. That's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching up to this point. I know it was a little bit of a shorter video, but I've got a lot more coming up for you guys in the future. So if you can, please hit that like button if you like the video, subscribe so you don't miss out on any of that content that I've got coming up for you guys in the future. And also leave your comments down below. Regardless of the direction that this industry eventually heads in, I for one am going to be doing my part to preserve this medium and the experiences that we've been able to enjoy up to this point. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel, and until next time, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like, and until next time, love you guys, safe travels.